Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race and Strategy Guide. We're off to Daytona International Speedway and we are in the Group 3 machinery, I think for maybe even the 4th or 5th time. Now, I do like Daytona International Speedway, but we've certainly done it plenty in Group 3. I'd like to have seen a Group 1 race, possibly a Group 2 race around here. Group 2's certainly never been used around here, but alas, it is Group 3. We have 10 laps to get round. We've got tyre wear at times 4, fuel at times 4 as well. Once again, just the racing medium tyres, and once again there is a mandatory pit stop. BOP is on, damage is light, it's a rolling start, slipstream is real, and as for your settings, the only thing allowed is brake balance. So it's actually going to be quite an interesting week because there is a big element of strategy to this one, and you're going to see a couple of races from me, both of which go spectacularly wrong, but for very, very different reasons. So let's jump into the first one, the 7 o'clock race. All the TCR boys are out racing in this one. Starting down in P13, and we went for the Peugeot VGT. The majority of the field are in the Ford GT LM spec test car. There's a couple of Supras, there is a couple of Genesis as well. So starting down in P13, careful into turn 1. We're going to just take it nice and cautious into the hairpin here, and we're going to take a hefty bump from the driver behind. We very nearly go into the back of Mario Sonic due to that. We keep it on the track. I took a look back at the replay. The French driver behind me just cut the grass, lost the car and went into the back of us, so just an accident there. All good and well though, we survive. Tidgeney gets past us, but Tidgeney was always going to get past us anyway. Coming into the next of the hairpins here, taking it nice and easy. I didn't, as ever, I kind of literally jump on, do a couple of laps before I do this race. So, but we know Daytona fairly well, we know the braking points. But this car is not the easiest car in the world to drive, but with Daytona, what do you need? You need good top end. So it's the cars with the strong top end that are going to be strong around here. So that is your Ford GT, it's your Supra just in front of us, it's this Peugeot VGT. I even seen an Alpha 4C up in the top 10 of the leaderboards before I started doing this commentary, so maybe a couple of other cars out there that could be some outliers, but I think it's going to be, for the reasons that we'll explain as this video progresses, I think it will probably be the Ford GT that will be the car of choice, even though I do believe this Peugeot VGT is just as fast. So taking a look around the outside of Hogston here, he's in the Supra. You can see the speed of this Peugeot VGT, even though we're not quite in the slipstream. The Supra does have the slipstream. You can see that the VGT starts to pull ahead. Tidgeney and a couple of other drivers have peeled off into the pit stop as well, and we'll talk about the pit stop in due course. Now, Hogston managed to pull a fly one on me there. I didn't realise he'd be able to brake quite as late as that, but maybe just being in the Supra, slightly better brakes than this Peugeot VGT. So I'm going to fast forward through lap 2 here. Going to give Hogston a bump a couple of times. He picks up a half-second penalty, and as he serves that penalty, we're going to go into the pits, and we'll take a look at the pit loss. So pitted at the end of lap 2 here, you're going to correctly predict that we're not going to change the tyres. You can see the tyres have hardly got any wear on them after a couple of laps. So there is no worries that the tyres are going to last the distance of 10 laps, and remember, as long as the tyres are within the first 50% of the wear, they tend to perform at around about 95% of performance. So the tyres would have to be very worn out to really gain that much in the second half of the race. Now our stationary time is only 1.7 seconds. I did actually check how long it takes to change the tyres, and it's actually 5.1 seconds on top of that. So yeah, that's a lot of time to concede to changing the tyres, and as I said, the wear on the tyres is not going to be enough to justify that 5 seconds. So this is definitely a no tyre change race. So out we came from the pits. It was all going fairly well. The pace was not terrible whatsoever in this Peugeot VGT. Coming towards the end of lap 7. And you may well have noticed we never mentioned fuel during the pit stop. But that's because we're going to actually talk about fuel now, because we came to the end of lap 7. This little message flashed up on the screen, and I realised I had made a fairly critical error on the strategy in this one, so I may have to retire myself as the strategy guy because this was a big mistake. We've still got 3 laps to go, the fuel is at 1.3, I knew fuel was actually a little bit of an issue in this one, but completely forgot about it during this race. Now, maybe I'll forgive myself for the fact that I got about 4 hours sleep, got up at 6:30 to do this video. It's the only excuse I've got. Anyway, I did try a fuel saving lap, but there was no way we were making 1.3 worth of lap last for 3 laps, so we had no choice but to go into the pits at the end of lap 8 to do a little bit of a splash and dash. It will give us a chance to just look at how long it takes to take around about 20% of fuel on. So I think it was actually 18% of fuel we took, about 3.2 seconds. I reckon that's probably closer because you've got the stationary time with the car come to a stop time included in that. But yeah, a splash and dash, it's going to take about 2.5 seconds if you're in this car, which is pretty bad on fuel, I'm not going to lie. It seems to really burn through the fuel compared to the Ford GT. But it is definitely pretty quick, and we pick up a free position towards the end as somebody serves a penalty. But it's down in P13 that we finish, 18-minute race, so definitely was scope for an additional lap there. I think we could have finished up in P6 had we not made that rather critical error. So I jumped into the next race with the intention of using the same car, but actually fuel saving this one just to see if this car was any good at fuel saving, or whether it would be better to take the fuel on at the pit stop compared to saving it. You know, would we lose a lot of pace on the straight? But then this very strange bug happened, because one of the other cars that were removed, actually another Peugeot VGT as well, and as we got towards the start finish line here, I could see the first cars on the grid approaching the start finish line, but yeah, nothing was happening. And at this point I thought, oh, we've encountered a little bit of a strange bug, and a strange bug indeed we had encountered, as the race didn't start, and we technically went on another formation lap. So it's definitely a bug I've never seen in the game. This is definitely a new one for me, given how much Gran Turismo I watch. I've definitely seen the vast majority of bugs that go on, but yeah, we went all the way around for another lap in the formation, and we were kind of all getting ready to go, I guess, but a couple of people had quit, and then all of a sudden, as we came up to the start-finish line again, or kind of towards where the formation lap usually starts at the beginning of a race, you know, we're all kind of all getting ready. I was certainly getting ready, thinking, okay, right, let's go, and then just says start on the screen, and we're still in the TV camera, and you're going to see there's a little bit of chaos going on here, as I was like, oh, wait a minute, am I actually in control of this car now? But we're still in the TV camera, what is going on? And then I go, yeah. So I see my car there, I go, alright, I'll pull it to the left, and straight into that Ford GT, straight into the wall. And then I had a brainwave, why don't I try changing the view? Ah, here we go. So, bit of a brain fade moment for me, because I really should have tried changing the view straight away, rather than kind of leaving it for about 10 seconds. But yeah, eventually we got underway in this one, but we were now also 18 seconds behind the lead. Some of the drivers up the front had realised far sooner than me to kind of maybe change the view, get into your normal driving view, and get the race underway. So, strange bug, must be said. And you would have thought with that additional formation lap, and the fact I also was saving fuel, that would be much better on fuel towards the end of the race. Well, I'll tell you this car is bad on fuel, and it's not very good at saving fuel either, because we're actually going to run out of fuel again coming over the start finish line to finish the race. We also binned it on lap 8. We got the very usual MR wobble coming through the bus stop chicane, which cost us about another 9 seconds. But it was to be a P8 in the end. Somebody never changed the tyres there, so it wasn't a total disaster. But a couple of interesting races indeed. None of them going particularly according to plan. One of them definitely self-inflicted, one of them a very unusual bug indeed. But let's talk about the strategy options for this one. So the strategy for this one is the one stop. Obviously it's a mandatory pit stop, so you have to stop. Make sure you do stop, and you get a 1 minute penalty. Don't change the tyres. The tyre change costs 5.1 seconds, and the tyres will not wear enough for that to be justified. Plus you're going to have to manage your fuel. Now, the fuel management part of this race is going to depend on the car. If you're in this Peugeot VGT, it's going to require a lot more fuel management than the Ford GT, from what I could see. but I think the Ford GT also has to do a little bit of fuel saving. Now, the saving required is going to be around about 2 to 3 laps depending on the car. For me, I think, you know, the cost of 2 or 3 seconds additional on your pit stop is probably not worth doing the fuel saving. You know, save a little bit of fuel where you can in the slipstream, save a little bit of fuel when you're in the traffic as well, or through the slow part of the track, and yeah, maybe it will just shorten that pit stop a little bit. But for the 2 or 3 seconds it's going to take on the fuel, especially in the Peugeot VGT, I would just take the fuel on rather than do the saving, because in the second race I definitely noticed that the car was a little bit slower on the straights. I haven't tried the Ford GT. I do think the Ford GT is better on fuel overall, so probably the kind of fuel saving element would maybe be more beneficial in the Ford GT over the Peugeot. But ultimately that's going to come down to your choice. I know some people detest fuel saving, so you'd rather just take it on at the pit stop. Some people don't mind doing it. Yeah, it's very much preferential choice as into how you want to manage the fuel. And it probably is the most important element of this race, as well as not getting penalties on the exit of the bus stop, because that will very much hurt you, and using that slipstream of your fellow competitors wisely and trying not to get involved in too much fighting towards the end of the race. But yeah, pretty good fun race. Great for Daytona, always pretty good. Overused for sure, but yeah, we'll certainly be live streaming this one a couple of times over the course of the week, so do join for them if you can. Hopefully this video has been useful in some way, shape or form. If it has, hit that like button, hit the subscriber button if you're not already. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.